Prisons are intended to serve as facilities for rehabilitation and punishment, but some detention centers around the world are notorious for their abysmal conditions. In the United States, a few prisons stand out for their extreme lack of sanitation, overcrowding, and overall inhumane conditions. These institutions not only fail to provide basic living standards but also expose inmates to severe health risks and psychological trauma. We will explore the historical context, notorious conditions, and key incidents that have cemented their reputations as some of the most appalling places of incarceration. Men's Central Jail. Los Angeles Men's Central Jail, MCJ, is part of the Los Angeles County Jail System, one of the largest jail systems in the United States. It was opened in 1963 to address the growing need for a larger detention facility in Los Angeles County. The jail was designed to house pretrial detainees and individuals serving short sentences. Over the years, Men's Central Jail has expanded to accommodate more inmates, but it has consistently struggled with overcrowding. The facility was originally designed to hold around 5,000 inmates, but at times it has housed significantly more, leading to severe overcrowding and associated problems. Men's Central Jail is notorious for its harsh and unsanitary conditions, making it one of the most feared and dirtiest places of incarceration in the United States. The jail often operates well beyond its intended capacity. Cells designed for a few inmates are frequently packed with many more, forcing some inmates to sleep on the floor or share beds. Overcrowding exacerbates all other issues, including sanitation, violence, and access to health care. It also leads to a higher incidence of disease transmission and increases tension among inmates. The facility is notorious for its lack of proper maintenance. Cells and common areas are often filthy, with infrequent cleaning leading to the accumulation of dirt, mold, and grime. Inmates have limited access to showers, clean water, and personal hygiene products. Plumbing issues are common, resulting in non-functional toilets and sinks, which further degrade living conditions. Reports of rodent and insect infestations are frequent. The presence of vermin contributes to the unsanitary environment and poses additional health risks to inmates. Overcrowding and harsh conditions contribute to a high level of violence among inmates. Fights and assaults are common, and the lack of adequate supervision exacerbates these issues. There have been numerous reports of abuse and excessive force by guards. The jail has been the subject of several investigations and lawsuits related to the mistreatment of inmates and inadequate health care. Access to medical care is severely limited. Inmates with serious health conditions often do not receive timely or appropriate treatment. Mental health care is also grossly inadequate, despite the high prevalence of mental illness among the inmate population. Unsanitary conditions and overcrowding have led to outbreaks of infectious diseases such as tuberculosis and MRSA. The lack of proper medical facilities and hygiene practices exacerbates these outbreaks. Men's Central BCDC Center. Baltimore, the Baltimore City Detention Center, BCDC, has a long history dating back to its establishment in the early 19th century. Originally designed to hold a few hundred inmates, the facility expanded over the years to accommodate the growing number of detainees. It served primarily as a pretrial detention center for individuals awaiting trial or sentencing. Imagine a place where hope fades as quickly as the sun sets behind barbed wire and concrete walls, a facility so infamous that it stands as a testament to human neglect and systemic failure. For decades, this institution has been a revolving door of misery, corruption, and violence. Picture this: a powerful gang, the Black Guerrilla Family, BGF, running a criminal empire from within the prison walls. In 2013, federal indictments revealed a shocking truth: the gang had taken control of the jail with the help of corrupt correctional officers. Guards smuggled in contraband, including cell phones, drugs, and weapons. They even engaged in relationships with inmates, blurring the lines between authority and criminality. The power dynamics were turned upside down, and the gang operated with impunity, orchestrating crimes both inside and outside the facility. For the inmates, daily life was a nightmare. Violence was a constant companion. Imagine living in fear of being assaulted at any moment. Inmates faced brutal beatings, stabbings, and even deaths at the hands of fellow prisoners. The guards meant to protect and maintain order were often complicit or outright abusive. In one notorious case, Guard Terence Pendergrass was sentenced to prison for denying medical care to an inmate, leading to the inmate's death. The message was clear: survival depended not on justice but on power and fear. The physical conditions of BCDC were no better. Overcrowding was rampant. Cells meant for 1 or 2 inmates often housed 4 or more. Imagine trying to sleep on a cold hard floor, crammed next to others with barely enough room to breathe. Hygiene was a distant dream. Broken plumbing led to overflowing toilets and raw sewage in cells. Inmates had limited access to showers, clean water, and basic hygiene products. Mold, mildew, and pests became their constant companions. Healthcare at BCDC was a grim joke. Inmates with serious health conditions waited endlessly for medical attention. Picture being in excruciating pain, knowing that help might never come. Many inmates suffered and died from preventable illnesses. Khalif Browder's tragic story brings this to life, a young man who spent nearly 3 years in BCDC without trial, enduring unimaginable abuse, and ultimately taking his own life after his release. His story is a haunting reminder of the system's failure. The neglect extended to mental health care. Inmates with psychological issues were left to deteriorate. The stress of overcrowding, violence, and neglect pushed many to the brink. Suicidal thoughts and self-harm became distressingly common in this environment. Hope was not just lost, it was systematically crushed. The horrors of BCDC did not go unnoticed. Investigations, lawsuits, and public outcry led to some reforms, but the deep-seated issues required more than just surface fixes. In 2015, the decision was made to close BCDC, but the echoes of its failures still resonate. As we recount these tales of despair, let us remember the names and faces behind the statistics and recognize that its closure was necessary to protect the rights and dignity of inmates. Local politicians and community leaders also pushed for the jail's closure and the construction of more modern and humane facilities. Rikers Island. Located in the East River between the Bronx and Queens, Rikers Island was first purchased by New York City in 1884. The island was initially used as a landfill before the first jail facility was constructed in 1932. A name synonymous with fear, violence, and despair, it stands as one of the most notorious detention facilities in the United States, a place where overcrowding, corruption, and brutality converge to create a living nightmare. Rikers Island is not just one jail, it is a sprawling complex of 10 jails spread across 400 acres. Originally designed to hold around 15,000 inmates, Rikers today houses fewer yet still struggles with overcrowding. Imagine a place meant to be a temporary holding facility for pretrial detainees, short-term convicts, and those awaiting transfer, now bursting at the seams with humanity. The inmates of Rikers Island come from all walks of life. Here, you'll find those accused of minor offenses alongside individuals charged with violent crimes. The population includes everyone from petty thieves to alleged murderers, creating a volatile mix that breeds tension and conflict. High turnover rates add to the chaos as new faces arrive daily, further straining an already overburdened system. Overcrowding at Rikers Island is not just a statistic, it is a daily reality that crushes the spirit. Cells designed for 1 or 2 inmates often house 3 or 4 inmates. They sleep in shifts, taking turns to lie down on filthy mattresses or the cold hard floor. Imagine the constant noise, the lack of privacy, the sheer impossibility of finding a moment's peace. Overcrowding breeds tension, and tension erupts into violence. The physical conditions at Rikers are appalling. Overcrowded cells reek of sweat and despair. Plumbing is often broken, leading to overflowing toilets and raw sewage in living areas. Mold, mildew, and vermin are constant companions. Inmates have limited access to clean water, showers, and basic hygiene products. Imagine trying to maintain your dignity while living in filth, surrounded by the stench of human waste and decay. Healthcare at Rikers is a grim reflection of its overall neglect. Inmates with serious medical conditions wait endlessly for treatment. The case of Khalif Browder, a young man who spent nearly 3 years at Rikers without trial, brought national attention to the facility's failures. Khalif endured physical and psychological abuse, and his mental health deteriorated to the point of attempting suicide multiple times before his release, only to take his life shortly after. The overcrowded and harsh conditions contribute to a high level of violence among inmates. Fights, assaults, and gang-related incidents are common, making Rikers a dangerous place for detainees. There have been numerous reports of abuse and excessive force by correctional officers. The jail has faced multiple investigations and lawsuits related to the mistreatment of inmates, including physical beatings, sexual abuse, and psychological harassment. Access to medical care is severely limited. Inmates with serious health conditions often do not receive timely or appropriate treatment. Rikers Island stands as a stark reminder of the failures of the American justice system. Its overcrowding, violence, and neglect paint a grim picture of a place where survival trumps rehabilitation and fear overshadows hope. The stories we've just explored aren't just accounts of the worst conditions a human being can face. They are a stark reminder of how systems can fail when left unchallenged, allowing abuse and negligence to prevail. But this conversation doesn't end here. This is just the beginning. Did you know there are prisons so extreme that even the guards fear working there? Or that some places exist where prisoners create their own rules, becoming the true rulers of confinement? If this video made you reflect or left you wanting to learn more, I invite you to join this community, where we uncover the most shocking and dark stories in the world that few dare to tell. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming videos, because what's coming next will leave you even more astonished. And before you go, let me know in the comments, which of these stories impacted you the most? Do you think there's hope for reform in places like these, or are they doomed to perpetuate the cycle of violence and neglect? Your opinion matters, and together, we can start a conversation that makes a difference. Finally, remember, this isn't just a channel, it's a space to learn, reflect, and question the world around us. See you in the next video, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. See you soon.